What's up, y'all? This is Why Are We Here? I'm your host, Spencer Crandall, and this is the first ever episode of Why Are We Here? So thank you for checking it out. I'm so excited to launch this podcast. My first guest is my buddy Jack Sock. He's an Olympic gold medal tennis player. We get into it in this conversation. We talk about marriage, social media, the Olympics, him simping over the Olympic basketball team. It's a great conversation, so check it out. Make sure that you subscribe to check out the rest of the guests that we have coming up. We're very excited about our season 1 lineup, so subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped is offering you a code for 20% off plus free shipping. Just use the code HERE, H-E-R-E, at checkout. Guys, get into the episode. Make sure to subscribe. I love you. Let's go. I see that you're golfing quite a bit. I think we're just going to just hop straight into the interview if that's cool.
All right. Yeah, of course.
Let's do it, man.
Of course.
I see that you are an avid golfer like myself. I can't imagine that you're bad like me because you're an actual athlete. So take me through, like, how'd you find golf? Have you golfed your whole life?
So my dad has played his whole life. He played college golf at Oklahoma State, was a good golfer, and played some mini tour stuff, I think, when he was younger, before he met my mom. And then so he got us into it a little bit when we were kids, but I think my attention span definitely was not there at all. So I was, in maybe more of the high speed active sports. So I was in tennis. And then when I got older, probably like late teens, I got really into golf and I started really enjoying it. So since then, probably 18, 19, 20, I started getting into it a lot.
Yeah, man, it's addicting. It takes a lot of my money and my time these days. It's so nice as like, I'm sure for you, like, you have athletics as a career and then you have athletics for just leisure and fun. So it's probably a good way to, like, be active but not have to, like, this is what I make my money from. This is what I bet my life on.
You would think that it would be, kind of a de-stressor from the tennis court, but I think my competitive side kicks in as well, and we go out and you got to play for something as well. I'm not very good at just going out and just playing for fun. So yeah, it actually is equally as stressful and competitive, but I enjoy that. So it's all right.
I'm the same way. I'm always telling people, like, they'll be like, "What are you doing this weekend?" I'm just gonna relax. I'm gonna play some golf. Flash forward to me on 14 wanting to, like, crank my driver into the lake. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a wild
Missed
sport.
that putt. It's going in the water for sure.
Yeah. And then that's pretty much all the putts for me.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun. I kind of found it last year in quarantine and it's been a great time. First of all, just wanted to say thank you so much for being on, man. So the show's called Why Are We Here? There's a couple different ways to answer that question. And the first one's like, why are we here? Why are you and I here? And I feel like I was introduced to you through a video, I think it was your engagement video, in which you used my song, My Person, you and your now wife. And I looked and I got tagged in it a couple times and had like a bunch of views. And I was like, who are these gorgeous people? They are just so good looking. So I went to your pages and I was like, oh, dang. So we messaged back and forth and yeah, I was like, I got to follow this guy. And then I started following you and I did some research and I was like, oh, this isn't just like a guy who plays tennis. This is like a 4-time Grand Slam champion and Olympic gold medalist. Like, this is crazy. So I've just been following you and just been kind of a fan ever since, man. I
appreciate that, man. It's kind of weird to hear because, like, obviously we are fans of you and all your music as well. And we found your song, My Person. And literally the first time we were actually talking about this the other day. I think we were watching back some of our videos and stuff. And our first dance is when we used it again. And and we were talking about the other day, as soon as we heard that song, we literally looked at each other. We were like, that's it. Like that's just our song. Whenever that time is right. And I didn't know, obviously at the time we used it for the engagement video, but I figured that would be probably our first dance song. And then when I, had the videographer come and do the work for the engagement, he was like, what song do you want to use? And I was like, hands down, My Person. It's perfect. Like it's a perfect song for that. And to say we were beyond stoked to see you reach out and kind of acknowledge that we'd used it was super cool as well. We both love country music to death, and you're definitely now one of, if not our favorite singers. So
oh man,
it's been cool. It's been a cool relationship for us to kind of be a part of, and kind of have you, I guess, involved a little bit in the the engagement video, and we talked about the wedding stuff, but yeah, it's just been really cool, man. It's been really, really
Dude,
cool. So I
that's
appreciate the
awesome.
support.
That just freaking made my day. That's so fun.
No,
That's exactly why I put out a song like that, is for like
yeah,
people to find it and to use it and like make it their own. So even like I get messages all the time, but it's cool to hear from like a person like you and that you guys use that for that purpose. It just gives me so much life. That's so fun, man. That's awesome.
yeah. No, man, I appreciate it.
What is your relationship with country music? Did you grow up? You like grew up kind of Nebraska, kind of Kansas City. Obviously, country music folk in that part of the world.
Definitely. The as some people refer to as the flyover states. I take offense to that a little bit.
You should. They are great states. Dang it.
They're great states. I love it. Yeah, the good old Midwest plains. So I was born in Lincoln till about 10 years old, and then my mom, brother, and I moved to Kansas City for a tennis academy. My dad had to stay then and is still in Nebraska for work. He's got a lot of clients and stuff, so he's never been able to make the move. But yeah, so we've been Midwest for life pretty much until about 2 years ago. I got out here to Charlotte, where we are now, where my wife is from the area, and got out here 2 years ago and never been back to Kansas City since. And now we have a house, 2 dogs, and married, and
just growing up, baby.
I know. Life happens fast, but I was a big country fan then. Definitely like beginning of high school and on was like very, very into it before then. Was kind of just into whatever, but yeah, we country for me from high school on, nonstop. And I know her and her family and her sister especially been into it forever. So, and it was good to move somewhere as well where country music's huge around here. So
yeah, it is alive
nice.
and well where you guys are for sure.
Yes,
man.
yes.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can get back to playing shows, and when we do, we'll have to hang out, play some golf, and you're always barbecuing some of these crazy steaks. You're around these chefs or something on your Instagram story I see. So I expect a full steak dinner and a round of golf. That's what I'm asking of you.
Say less. That's done and done.
And
if you do a
Fortnite.
show. Yes, a show anywhere around Charlotte, I'll guarantee you the best steak of your life, some great golf, and just a good time for sure.
Perfect, man. I'm in. That sounds freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
So you're a kid. You're in Nebraska, Kansas City. What about like tennis made you? I was kind of one of those kids who played a lot of different sports. Ended up finding a couple that I liked. What about tennis and why tennis? Like, what about tennis made you want to like dedicate your life to it, and why tennis as like a game? What about it like called out to you, if you will?
Yeah, I played everything as well growing up. I narrowed down to soccer and tennis when I was still in Nebraska, about nine years old. And then, I don't know, I guess, at the time you don't think about a team sport versus an individual sport. I guess really I just had really fallen in love with tennis. And I gonna say this, I guess, but my parents have told me that I used to sleep with my rackets when I was a kid, and I was just I was that obsessed with it. So I guess no surprise that I chose that to try. By about 10, 11 years old, I was fully tennis. And like I said, we had moved to Kansas City for it. My parents sacrificed a lot to try to make it possible. And just kind of went with it. I think I did love when I got older, I enjoyed the individual side of it, kind of going out there, having to figure stuff out on your own, not necessarily relying on other people. Obviously you win, it's great because it's you, and you lose, it's worse because it's just you as well. So in tennis, it's definitely important to have the right people around you for your team, with coaches, and obviously family's always first, but coaches and trainers and now my wife, my own family. So yeah, it's definitely different, for sure, being individual rather than team, but I think I just enjoyed that side of it, the competitive side of going out there and doing it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that. I played football and I wrestled, and I love them for very different reasons. Like I loved in football that there's this camaraderie and there's a bunch of dudes, and there's also this part of wrestling I was so drawn to, which is like it's me versus another human, and I'm trying to put them on their back against their will, which is a crazy concept. But I love that like your failures are your own and your wins are your own. It's kind of addicting in that way.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I feel like there's a part of every kid's life where you like kick over from hobby to like passion. And then I feel like for you, you had so much success, especially at the junior level. Then you moved into that next level. And when I kind of watched some videos on you or about you, it was like, you know, you had some great years. You're cranking in high school and stuff, and then you just shot up out of nowhere and just started taking down these guys who had been kind of bigger names, and you were kind of the young gun coming up. What is that experience like when you're playing some of the greatest tennis players of all time, or people who are ranked way above you, and you start climbing from like 200 to 180 to 100, like that kind of a climb, especially in the pro level or that next level of sports?
Yeah, it was a journey, that's for sure. As with anything, I'm sure like, getting to the stage you are and growing in country music as well. Obviously, everyone has to start, at a fairly base level, knowing you don't just get, granted into, a status in your career. But yeah, it was different because my junior career was successful. I guess to say, I don't like talking like it was successful. I was able to win a lot of matches. And then going from there, I'd always planned on going to school. My brother was at Nebraska playing tennis. I had some friends on the team from there, so I actually had planned on probably going there to play at least a year or two before, giving it a try at the pros. And I had some success at the end of my junior career. Through high school, I'd won a junior Grand Slam at the U.S. Open, and then won a very, the lowest level pro event. They're called futures for us. So I had won that, and then and won one of those at age 17. So at that point, the opportunities with sponsorships and stuff kind of drove me into the pro life at that stage instead of going to school, just because it's impossible to have your family back you financially to go out and travel and
Right.
start this whole journey. So needed some help, most definitely. And so I had that chance, and it went from winning a lot of matches in juniors and high school to you start losing every week that you're playing. And unless you have a great week. So it was definitely a mental change, just getting used to, you head into a week, you're like, I'm, probably going to lose at some point this week.
Yeah.
But it's just a grind. I mean, it's difficult when, I took that path and I was playing, they're not some of the most glamorous places, at that stage of pros. So, you're playing at parks somewhere and some kind of
No
beaten
way. I
down
didn't know that.
places. Yeah. It's very like, I mean, a lot of the future, especially in the States, like you go over to Florida, you're playing kind of in a random park with a lot of stuff going on. People are running and jogging and dogs are running around. I mean, it can be like that for sure.
That's
So,
wild.
you got to get through that level to what are called challengers for us, which is right below the main tour. And it's kind of like here, then a little more glamorous, and then the tour. And once you work your way up, you're blessed and fortunate to be in that position. And then obviously just want to hold on to it as long as possible. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was weird being an 18-year-old playing a 34-year-old who's trying to put dinner on the table,
Right.
that night for his family and his babies. It's a crazy world.
That's what I saw. It's like you're
Yeah.
some kid who basically could be in high school going out and playing these guys who are like 3 kids and been in the game for 10
Yep.
years. So it's such a big flip.
Yep.
Has there ever been a point where you were like, I think I'm out. Like I want to go live, for lack of a better term, like a pedestrian life, just this like normal, I want to get a day job because this weird, different way of living. I mean, I have fantasies of this where like, instead of writing songs every day and doing this and getting told no a billion times, it'd be way easier just to go like grab what is quote a normal job. Do you ever have fantasies of that, or did you ever think about that coming up?
I mean, not right away. And I think the excitement of like, like, oh, I'm gonna pro athlete, even though
Right.
you've made $0, you have 0 points, in tennis, all that. It's exciting. And I think then when you see your friends, that my friends are in college having the best time of their lives, and I'm, like I said, playing in some non-glamorous places and grinding pretty much by myself. It's you kind of second guess what did I just do? But with some success, with some wins, that obviously changes pretty quickly. And once you make it on tour, it was it's a great life. Very fortunate. But yeah, I mean, I think the older I've gotten, maybe you you start to enjoy things that you didn't necessarily enjoy as much when you're a little younger, being home, being with your wife, being with your
Right.
wife and everything. So yeah, it's yeah, blessed to do it, but I actually would never want to do anything else.
No, I totally feel that. I feel like you've talked a lot about some of these like dogs running through the freaking match in Florida, like random places. We've also played on some of like the craziest stages, and I feel like when you're, little 10-year-old Jack, and you're just serving to a freaking fence or whatever, you're saying to yourself like, it's the last set at Wimbledon, it's the last set at the Olympics, it's the last set against some of these great players, and you actually are there. Like the fever dream of actually being at a place where you kind of set your whole life up to be there. What are those moments like, and kind of take us through those emotions or that feeling? Like I get that stomach drop feeling because I want to perform well. I'm so competitive. Right. Does that like register with you at all?
Yeah, 1,000%. I had one early on for sure when I was 18. It was my second U.S. Open, and growing up in Nebraska, the only other tennis player ever from there was Andy Roddick. If some people are familiar with him, and I was able to win my first match there at the U.S. Open that year. And second round, I see the draw and it's Roddick, and I'm like, this is my childhood idol.
That's crazy.
From Nebraska. We're both Husker fans, all of it. And then I see the schedule come out for that day, and we're the night match on Arthur Ashe Stadium, and I was like, okay. So this biggest court we have in tennis, I think it's 20,000 people for tennis.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
So
and
crazy.
It was on the first Friday night of the US Open. And then, my agent, they come to me and they're like, yeah, this is also on ESPN. So obviously like
no pressure,
yeah, just, behave well, all that stuff. And, so yeah, first time on TV, first time on that court, playing my childhood idol. So that was early on, one of the coolest for me. And from there being able to play, obviously the Roger Federers, Nadal's, Djokovic, had my chances at them. Haven't gotten any wins yet, but gotten close against Nadal a few times.
Yeah, you have. Dude, it's just so crazy that you can even just say those names. Like that is tennis. Like anybody who even knows a little bit about tennis knows those names, knows those people, and knows those stages. So it's just crazy to think that like you have been at those places. I also want to ask you about the Olympics, because I feel like that's such a world event. It's one thing to like, I'm holding it down for Kansas City, but you had Murica on your back. Yeah. You showed up and people were like, you represent our country. Like, what is that experience like? I've heard so much about like Olympic Village and stuff like that. Yeah. Obviously there's another Olympics coming up. Would love to hear kind of like how your experience was. And it's fun because you freaking won.
Yeah, that definitely topped it off nicely. Yeah. But I didn't know much. I mean, I'd heard about the Village and everything as well, and the camaraderie, between athletes all over the world is supposed to be very special. And we get down there, and I mean, I think it's safe to say Rio, and I think this was a very public thing. Rio's set up in the Village with where the athletes staying, and the water temperatures in the shower, all that, maybe wasn't up to par or standard for Olympic Village. So it was definitely, I heard it was definitely a little different, but it didn't matter, because once you're there, it was the most surreal thing I've ever been a part of. And the opening ceremony to me was insane, because they go, by sport. Every country, is together, and then they go by sport. You break you up. So that we get there, they're like, all right, tennis, you're here. Basketball, you're right behind tennis. And I was like, turn around, we're about to walk out opening ceremony. It's, Durant, Paul George, Westbrook, DeMarcus. I mean, everybody, you can think of. My favorite player, Jimmy Butler, who was
the guys, man.
The guy, yeah. I went and fanboy, got a selfie with him in line.
Oh, you have to. I was about to say, I'd be so mad at you if you left the Olympics and didn't get at least one like crazy selfie.
Yeah, and the golf was there for the first time, and obviously is an avid golf fan addict, I would almost say. That was awesome as well. That's where I got to meet Ricky, and I knew Kuchar a little bit as well, so it was good to hang out with those guys. But the opening ceremony, you're walking out, and it looked like a video game in the stands. You walk out, you go one lap around, or you go down the track and back, and these people are going nuts, and it was insane. It really was insane. And then to be there at the end for us, standing on a podium, hearing the national anthem, was able to do it twice, which was incredible with the bronze and doubles and gold and mixed.
Yeah.
It was insane. And then just the feedback you get when you go in, we had won, and then you go to the cafe area, and I walk by, and Michael Phelps is there, and you're supposed to wear your medal. If you medal for your country, you're supposed to wear it into the cafe that, I guess, the same day. And so we wear it in, and Phelps turns, and he's like, "Hey, congrats, man. Like, way to do it for your country." And I'm like,
that's
like, this is not real.
Does he just have 12 of them at all times?
That and he has about 38 plates of food because he eats like 10,000 calories a day.
So I've heard. That man is large and seems like you'd need a lot of fuel for whatever body type that is, where he's like 9 feet long in the torso and has flippers but has like no legs. It's crazy.
Got gills, all of it.
Yeah, right. Dude, that's so fun to hear.
Nuts.
I love the Olympics, and like I feel like so many people fantasize about that kind of stuff and being at these top stages. So it's so fun to hear from somebody who's like actually been there and experienced that. And it's cool to hear that you weren't like too cool to go over and fanboy the NBA guys, because that's, I think, so much. The rest of the world would be going over like, "Hi, Jimmy, I just want to let you know, man, like, you're so cool." At least I would. So
yeah, that's probably what my voice sounded like, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm sure if we had a tape back, that would be a pretty good impersonation.
No one show it, please.
Yeah. Today's podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Our friends over at Manscaped just sent me a beautiful box of all the new Manscaped gear. The Lawnmower 4.0. It is legit, let me tell you. Okay, we've all had the feeling you're down there, you're shaving, you nick something. That's not a fun place to have a cut, okay? But not with the Lawnmower 4.0, okay? This is shaving with sleek, well-designed, and optimized trimming. It makes shave time your favorite time in the bathroom, okay? 4.0 allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. And did I mention wireless charging? The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. Men, you got to get the Lawnmower 4.0, okay? It's time to get your own ball hair and body trimmer with Manscaped to make me time the best time and enhance your confidence with some nice, smooth boys, okay? You get 20% off plus free shipping with the code HERE, HERE, at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Back to the show. So I feel like you're super young, and I feel like this is a classic thing in sports. Like, you see professional athletes super, super young. Obviously, you're still in the game. What is some of the like life after tennis conversation for you and your family? Like, what is, because I was always fascinated. Like, I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan, and the dude's like accomplished the world, and he's like 35, and it's like you're at the first third of your life. It's like so crazy in sports. So maybe talk about what does that look like for you? What's interesting for you moving forward? Obviously, you're still in the game, but like, is the plan to be a Tom Brady when you play until you're 75? Is the plan to be a tennis coach? Is it to have a tennis line? Is it to make content? Is it like, what does that look like for you? What excites you?
Yeah. And obviously, older you get, I guess, in your sport, I'm definitely considered on the second half of my career now. Unfortunately, in tennis, I still feel young, but I've had those conversations. I think I definitely want to get into some different type of business ventures in general. I like to do stuff. I like to be active. I'm definitely not one that can just sit around post tennis and not really do much. So I think commentary could be a potential if a station or a channel is willing to have me. I love sports, as much as the next person. So any type of commentary, analyst, anything like that would be awesome.
I see that big time.
Yeah, that would be a dream of mine, honestly, like an ESPN analyst or something like that, just to talk about any sports.
Yeah, man. That makes so much sense for you. You're such a likable guy, and I feel like you got the pizzazz. I could just see you as the serve's going up, just laying down some jokes, laying down some good stuff for the fans at home.
That's appreciate fun, that. I thank you. Yeah. We'll see. But anything along those lines, I'd be good with. Maybe possibly an academy. With my own type of academy program for kids, because obviously I think any involvement I can have, any impact I can have for junior tennis in this country would be great as well. And try to make it more popular and stuff. So,
Yeah, and is that a thing, like, in America? I don't really have my finger on the pulse of, like, tennis, but although I'm the best of my friend group, so it's like,
there you go.
what are we gonna say? But I don't have my finger on the pulse of tennis. Like, what does it feel like? Is tennis making a push as, like, one of the more popular sports? Is it something that has taken a step back, or, like, do you have any idea of how that looks, especially in, like, the junior circuit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally positive. I think it's very region based, I would say, in the country.
That's what I
Obviously,
thought.
the coast, Florida, there's tennis players on every corner. Actually, the South, there's a lot. The Carolinas, Georgia, all down here. There's a lot of junior tennis as well. I'd say the Midwest is not the hotbed where I grew up.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a lifelong sport. I always want to encourage kids and anyone to try to get into it. So I would be definitely stoked if I could get into that at some point as well.
The number one thing I would do if I could go back in time is tell myself to not play football and wrestle, because I'd have far fewer shoulder surgeries, and I would have a lifelong sport like tennis and golf. Like, I'm an idiot. I had the opportunity to take lessons and stuff as a kid, and I blew it. I picked all the sports to give you concussions and achy joints. Not that tennis doesn't do that, but, like, big impact sports. And I'm always telling my, like, friends or whatever who are thinking about having kids, I'm like, you should get your kids into tennis and golf. They are lifelong. You're going to be 80 years old and still putzing around.
Yeah.
It's the best, man.
Exactly.
Lifelong. I can't just go up and wrestle somebody on the side of the street. That's how I get an assault charge.
Exactly. Yeah, I would stay away from that.
Yeah, I've been advised not to, for sure. Yeah. So again, the show being called "Why Are We Here?" Part of it is like, why are we here, you and I? Part of it is like, why are we here at this point in our career? Which I feel like we got into some of the deeper stuff of tennis and kind of your journey and stuff. The back, like, third of the show is really about, like, why are we here in the universe, which is a daunting question, but it's like, why are we here on Earth? What are some of your beliefs and stuff? And I get to do a deep dive with people on stuff that most people either steer away from or don't really get to talk about. So instead of asking you, why are we here in the universe? Because that's the biggest question of all time.
Yeah.
Like, what'd you grow up, like, did you grow up with any religion or, like, basis on which to, base your life on, or some sort of belief system in that way? And if so, like, did that have an impact on you? Is that something you still believe? Is that something that you're interested in? Is spirituality something that you talk about in your friend circles or in your marriage or anything like that?
Yeah, it's actually a good question I feel like for where I'm at, for where I'm at with my wife and everything. I grew up in a Christian household. I'm a proud Christian. I grew up going to church. I was in a life group through most of early school days, even through high school, for most years. And I would say once I got on tour, I lost touch with it for a little bit, for sure. Very busy traveling, taking on this whole new adventure. Not that there's excuses to lose touch, with your faith if you're a believer, but there was just, obviously a lot going on, and it's been amazing since I, was dating Laura and now married. Her family are big believers as well. Big Christians, and they've really helped me get back in touch with it all. And we've now found a church here that we can call home for our home church. We go every weekend that we're in town. I tune in even at tournaments. If I have time on Sunday, I'll watch live and stuff. And it's just really been a focal point for our marriage. Our officiant, at the wedding is the guy we talked to before. And he was big with faith in our meetings, before getting married, and even after. We still talk to him a lot. So I would say it's definitely a big focal point for us. It's helped me just a lot in life, and I would say a lot of thanks to my wife and her family as well for helping me get back in touch with it.
No, that's beautiful. I love that, man. That's great. I'm a little bit of my spiritual background, like, grew up super in the church, and then kind of spent my early 20s and kind of still am, like, just asking these big questions. And so instead of coming on this podcast being like, this is what I believe, I'm actually trying to find the answers. Like, I'm
Right.
deeply interested in that conversation. What is what's a tip or like an encouragement for somebody like me who like dips in and out of Christianity, who dips in and out of spirituality, who's constantly looking like, do you have any resources, authors, people that you're like, ooh, this person said this, or is it more like community based for you, like relationships and like you said, your wife?
Yeah, I think that would be a great question for her. Actually, I think
Sure.
she could probably give you some great tips on,
Yeah.
certain people to listen to, or messages to listen to, pastors, that type of stuff. But obviously, it's very personal based. No one can tell anybody what to believe in, and what path to follow, what spirituality, adventure you want to go on. But just for us, like I said, for us, we found a church, and the pastors actually live in our neighborhood,
Oh, nice.
which makes it
Well,
even
that's
better.
easy right
So
there.
yeah, so it makes it better. But I would honestly just whatever you fully believe in, and whatever, if it's a place in person or somebody online virtually, whatever you can, kind of fully engulf yourself in and really believe would be my tip, because I've I've kind of gone around a little bit like you as well.
Yeah.
When I started traveling, I was looking for things, and I would listen to this, or I'd go to a church, and I just wasn't, too tuned into what was going on.
Sure.
And now, we found a place where, like, service is over, and I'm kind of like, no, like, I wish it would keep going. That type of feeling, where
Yeah.
before
That's
you're
how I
kind of
should
like
feel.
checking your watch, you're like, wow,
Oh
when's this
yeah.
going to be over?
I've
So
been to the Check Your Watch church, and I've been to the oh my gosh, I can't believe that it's over church. And
yeah,
yeah, it's crazy. Christianity is obviously a massive umbrella with so many different thoughts and
yeah,
denominations and stuff within it. So I think that's great advice. I think part of the why are we here is like, obviously there's like an eternal or like a spiritual component to that question. There's also like why are we here on earth? Like, what's the purpose of all this? Are we just kind of monkeys staying busy till we die? Or like, can we make an impact? Like, when you think about your legacy or like when you're gone, like, I'm weird in the fact, like, I'm always thinking about my funeral. I'm always like,
yeah.
who would show up? What would they say? Like, what are some of those thoughts, or do you like relate to that at all of like the end of your life, or what is a life well lived in your opinion? What are some of the things that make that up? What is a good legacy to you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think, wow, there's a lot. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of components to that, or can
hmm
be. I think.
and take pressure off. Like, there's no massive answer that you could come up
Yeah,
with.
no,
It's
of
just more of a
course.
discussion, a conversation that like
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's a lot to think about.
no, it is, and I was, I've had those same thoughts, but more when I was, a little younger. You're laying in bed, you're like, I can't, it's going to be over one day. That type of stuff. Like, it's
hmm
hard to fathom and
Now you're
wrap your head
speaking my
around.
language. The
Yeah,
existential crisis.
it really is. Like, you're just like, this can't be real. Like, it can't just not be here one day. Um, and I think in the immediate with what I'm doing now, my coach growing up always was huge on locker room respect, and
Mm.
I feel like I took that and I want to apply that to life respect, instead
Amen.
of just he was always like, when you go in the locker room, you want guys to look at you, or have that respect for you, that you're a good guy. After tennis, you want they maybe reach out one day. They don't want to be You don't want to be that guy that they're like, I don't whatever with that guy. I don't wonder what he's up to these
Oh
days.
yeah.
But
We all know the
um,
locker room person where you're like, I cannot wait to never see that person again.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think applying that to life for me has been important.
I love that.
Can always improve for sure on that.
hmm
There's difficult times with everyone and everything, but yeah, for me, a little bit goes into like what I said with possibly an academy one day,
Yeah.
being able to touch a lot of people, have different things going on in life where I just want to be an impact on people's lives in general,
Yeah.
and whatever that may be. It could be tennis, it may not be tennis, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I've um, so I mean, a foundation for me one day would be huge as well.
That's
Being able to
awesome. I
give
love it.
back. Yeah, my wife and I've been involved in charities as well, which has been amazing. Um, there's always somebody that needs help. There's always
hmm
something you can do. So anything along those lines is kind of where I'm at for now. But that's definitely a question keep thinking about.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, my answer is always kind of like I'm figuring it out as I go.
Yeah.
It always seems to me that like no matter who I ask, part of that answer is like I want to help people, I want to impact people, which is always kind of a beautiful thing to hear. Like no matter what, you're talking to a tennis player, you're talking to a musician, and it seems like everybody wants to give back in some way because we all feel
Yep.
like we have this duty to each other, and it's just this weird, beautiful, this arc of justice in the universe where like we really want to bring people along, we really want to help people. You know, if there is some 10-year-old kid in Nebraska listening to this who could listen to this podcast, be like, oh, if he could do it, I could do it. That's sick.
Right.
Like that's the kind of stuff that I love, and I think that's part of why we're here on planet Earth. Hopefully, is like that. I think you and I both are probably a part of the like privilege conversation in the world right now, and with that comes a great responsibility to give back. So I think all that answer was perfect, and I really enjoy that. I think with this question too, there's part of like a mental health conversation. I think it's really interesting in sports. Like I feel like everyone's always talking about staying healthy, and you're thinking knees, you're thinking elbows. Like, have you had any mental health stuff as somebody who's, you know, you go to these massive stages, and I think you can relate to this, and all of a sudden you're like in a hotel room alone. And it's this really big flip of like, you're at the opening ceremony, and then you're like on your phone checking Twitter before you shower. And it's like this super weird, 1 minute the world's telling you, you are the man, and the next minute you feel like nobody cares. You know? Like, what is that journey like for you, mental health wise? Is that something you've ever struggled with? And especially in sports, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think that's a I think it's an interesting topic because I think when you're younger, especially for me in sport, when you're younger, you kind of think you're invincible, right? Nothing can hurt you. You're never down. You're never out. Even when things aren't going well, you're like, oh yeah, I'm on tour. I'm traveling. Things are going great. And I think the older you get, the more time you're on tour, you realize the things that really impact you, that really put you down, that hurt you. You don't realize maybe at the time, how they're impacting you, and how they're changing your mood and everything, and your mental health. And I think when people talk about health, you said it perfectly. Everyone thinks it's a physical thing, and I think mental health is just important, if not more, than the physical stuff, especially sports and careers, musicians, all of it. So I think the older I've gotten, the more aware I've gotten, I would say, with it all, and not trying to not let things, impact or bring you down as much or be a negative, effect on you. I don't think I've probably ever struggled with mental health. I know players that have and stuff, but I think that goes back to having a lot, a big part of it could be having the right people around you, having a good base of, like they always say that, find your 5 closest friends and you'll
I say it all the time, man.
all about.
I couldn't relate to something more. It's so true.
Yeah.
Like you are those 5 people. No matter what you want to say, like if you're around people who are constantly dogging on things, bitching, moaning, like you're going to be dogging on things and bitching and moaning.
Yep.
And if you're around those, and I think especially in sports, that's why you're talking about, although tennis is an individual sport, you have these teams, right? You have these camps where you have a coach and you have other people that you're training with. Like those are the guys who are going to make you better. It's the practice squad guy on the football team who makes varsity better. It's the guy that you have to get served to or against every day who's going to make you better. And they're also the people who, mental health wise, are going to be the ones who you're having conversations with. They're going to be the ones who you share mindset with. It's just so real. I'm just so relating to that because I feel like that's one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given is like, check your really tight circle. Who are those people and what are they like? And the self-awareness check of like, and how are you like that as well? Because it's going to be the same.
Exactly. And not all the time there's people in your inner circle that you think are there for you. A lot of times more times than not, maybe don't have your best interest at heart. So it's a crazy world in that sense, especially when you're put in any sort of stage or spotlight. You got to grow up pretty quickly and learn things pretty quickly. But when you do find those people, it's an incredible feeling for sure.
Yeah, you talked about spotlight. Like, maybe give me a little bit of like your take on. Obviously, with tennis, there's these massive stages and spotlights, and you have people who are just like fans of you for lifelong. Like, they just want to meet you, they want to see you, they want to come to a tournament. Like, how do you deal with fame? How does your relationship with people knowing who you are and having to think about the things that you say before you say them, because it's all part of this weird internet thing. Like, that's how I found
Yeah.
you. You know, you're verified, and you have hundreds of thousands of people who care about your life. What does that look like to your mental health, or like, is that something that you feel like serves you, or maybe touch on that?
I think, and I could probably speak for anybody with with any sort of following, or a blue check mark. But I think it's definitely a there's pros and cons for sure. I think that's the honest truth. I think the average fan, of your sport, or your career, they don't know the negative as much, which is tough, because they only see the positive. They see you, when you're doing things well, when you post. Of course, nobody, you're not going to post something that's negative. You only
Mm,
post things that look good, cool photos, cool things you're doing, stuff like that. And they don't see you lose a match and you have the 30 DMs that are saying, "I hope you and your family die." And I just had that a few weeks ago when I was playing a
Jesus.
tournament.
Oh
They're
my
saying,
god.
yeah, it's no, and it's nuts. And for us, it's, in sport, it's tough. There's a lot of illegal gamblers out there,
Sure.
um, that want to bet on matches, and it's a go-to. I feel like after most tennis players, and they lose a match, you go straight, not straight, but at some point in that day or night, you go to your DMs and you see the absolutely horrendous things that people say about you, and you
Yeah.
and you can't wrap your head around how someone could type that, even though they're probably just hiding in a basement somewhere and given a voice because it's social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the average fan doesn't know that. They don't know that you go, like you said, you go back to your hotel and you're by yourself and you're laying in bed and you go to your social media and you're just like, you're just so down, you're just so
Yeah.
sad. It's um you know on the flip side, you're playing those matches like against Roddick on Arthur Ashe, on Friday night for me. And it's a tale of two worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone, unless you're in it, like yourself, they don't understand the full spectrum that it covers,
Yeah.
and what it can do to somebody mentally, for sure, good and bad. So it's it's um, it's a difficult route to navigate sometimes, but
Yeah.
if handled properly, and you can do it. It's obviously a huge blessing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you touched on that, because I think a lot of people that follow me and you are like, they're younger people who dream of, you know, playing their freaking hero on one of the biggest stages, or they're somebody who maybe wants to, do music or whatever. And you see the highlight reel and you see people just constantly smiling, because who's going to post a picture of like the DMs saying kill yourself? Like, that's
Yes.
not cool, or what's going to get likes or whatever. And maybe we should do a better job of that. Maybe that's part of our job moving forward. But like, it's tough. You want to share the stuff that's cool and that's that feels like you're doing fun things. But I think it's really tough to get across to people like, yes, you can be the guy playing the huge stage, playing your hero. It's gonna come with 30 DMs after the match when you're in your hotel room eating a greasy catering meal or whatever. Like, it's gonna come with some weird stuff. So I'm glad you touched on that. I
Yeah.
feel like part of that for you, maybe you can even talk about like the classic nowadays, like the relationships with social media, because you guys are such a good looking couple who looks like they have it all together, which is classic Instagram. Like, I never get to watch a video of you guys at 9 in the morning disagreeing about something. I get to just watch the my person engagement video and be
Yeah.
in tears, be like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. So like, what is that like in your relationship with social media?
Yeah, and again, I think it's very person or individual based, or
Yeah.
couple relationship based on what people do. Obviously, my wife has been on social media for a long time. She danced, has danced her whole life, danced for the Checkmates here, for the Hornets as well. So, and now her and her sister have, their online boutique. So social media for her is huge.
It's her
And
job. Yeah.
For work. And for me, it's, it's big as well as, for you have sponsors, that want, content. You have, just in general, I mean, people want to keep up with what you're doing, and it sadly, and sometimes fortunately, it's just what you have to do to be relevant sometimes. And so people don't forget about you, even though you still play and all that.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, for us, I don't, I don't, I don't think we definitely don't go out of our way to make it seem like we have, a certain life or lifestyle or happiness or anything. I would say in general, we're very happy people in general. We're very happy together. We love just life together. Yeah, we don't necessarily post all the trashy reality TV we watch every night. That's one of our favorite things in the world. We're not
What's the
necessarily posting
show?
about.
What's the like go-to
Oh
guilty
man,
pleasure?
90 Day Fiance. Any
Oh
type
yeah.
of season with
Mm.
that is probably our favorite. I'm a huge fan of Love After Lockup and Marrying Millions as well.
Dang, so y'all like are into
No,
it.
yeah.
Dude.
I got us matching hoodies that say 90 Day Fiance.
That's incredible. I love that.
So but yeah, no. In general, we I would say we do a good job of posting or portraying what's going on. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, like you said,
I love that.
you can always have little tiffs here and there, but I can probably and I wouldn't even. I mean, I could probably count on one hand the disagreements we've had over something small. I don't even think but yeah, I think it can get blown out of proportion for some people.
Sure.
For some couples, they only post the glitz and the glam, and I mean, a lot of celebrity couples, that
Yeah.
everyone's like they're getting divorced. Wow, really? It looked like they were perfect on
Right.
social media, so that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and like I love how happy you guys look, and it's definitely not like you need to post your fights. It's
Yeah.
actually we're just asking like, do you feel pressure of the internet being like, you guys look so happy, and you're like, we are happy, and then you're like, wait, do we fight? Like, does that ever come into
Yeah.
your relationship, or like, do you feel that a need to like? I know a lot of my friends who are in public relationships like that, and they're like constantly almost needing to like make content for their relationship, for the internet. Obviously, like it is fortuitous for brands, for her company, for your stuff. So
Yeah, we've actually talked a lot, and I think this definitely correlates to this conversation. But I feel like some of the best relationships, whether it's your marriage, or your other half, your significant other, or friends, I feel like we've always said, like, isn't it funny how when you're around the people that obviously you love being around, you truly love being around, and you're just in the moment enjoying it, you forget to post stuff. Like
dude, it's so true.
and we'll go and we'll be like we'll sit there and be like, wow, we haven't posted together in a while, but we should throw something up. And I think it's a testament for us that time will just go by. You're just enjoying life together. I'll have friends either in town or come to town, and I hadn't seen them in a while, and I'm like, I couldn't be happier, more excited that they're coming and playing golf or doing whatever. And I'm like, I didn't post one time with him while he was
They'll
here.
leave,
That's
and you're
insane.
like, we didn't take a
Yeah.
picture. What did we do?
Literally, yeah. And
I do it all the
so I
time,
think,
man.
yeah. So I think that's a testament more to the great side of
I love
relationship.
that. That's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like that. It's so cliche, like the time flies thing. But you really, when you're with people that you love, you all of a sudden after a weekend, you're like, oh yeah, like we didn't post a story, or we didn't do that thing, and it's kind of beautiful. I love that, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
No, it's a crazy world, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you. You are actually the first guest. You are our first Zoom guest
no
for
way.
sure. So yes, this is super fun. I don't know the
Wow.
order in which we will air them, but you are my first Why Are We Here interview, the way that we booked it. So this has been super fun, man, and I appreciate you.
Dang, man, I appreciate the time, dude. You're awesome.
Thanks, man.
Really enjoyed talking to you. I think it's refreshing. We can just sit and have a normal conversation, I feel like, instead of different topics going on in today's world and everything. But yeah, you can just sit and have a man to man and a normal chat. So it's been awesome, man.
Dude, I love it. You owe me a steak dinner and a round 18 holes, and
Done.
we're all gonna hang out. I'll bring the guitar. We'll sit around a campfire and just do it, South Carolina style.
Yeah, there you go. It sounds perfect to me. Absolutely
Perfect,
perfect,
man.
man.
I appreciate you so much. Thanks for coming
Of
on.
course. Yeah, man. Appreciate you, Spencer.
Talk to
See
you
you
soon,
soon,
dude.
man. See ya. See ya.
All right, that's it, y'all. That was my conversation with Jack Sock. Thank you to Jack for coming on the show. Y'all, if you don't already, make sure to subscribe. We have a amazing guest list coming up. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped. Use code HERE, HERE, at checkout, manscaped.com. You're getting it 20% off plus free shipping. We'll see you again next week. This has been Why Are We Here?